Today's lesson, section 7.3a, we're talking about double angle, half angle, and product to sum and sum to product formulas. And this is part 2 of that previous video. Here, for this example, I want to be able to simplify the following expressions by using double angle and half angle formulas. So here we're just going to simplify. We're not actually going to find the exact value afterwards. Well, now I want to take notice of what I'm given. So I have 2 sine of 50, cosine of 50, and now I notice that there's a 2 times a cosine of some number times a cosine of that same number. So looking at my formulas, that looks like the sine formula for a double angle. And so this would be my x, the 50, and so now I put it in to my double angle one. So it would be like saying sine of 2x. So since x is 50, I'd say sine of 2 times 50. And so simplifying that, I can say sine of 100. Okay, so here they just want you to simplify, so it looks like something like that. So it's going to be in terms of tangent, cosine, or sine, but of an angle at the end. Okay, so next one, you have 2 cosine squared of 15 degrees minus 1. So looking at my angles, or my formulas for my angles, it looks like that's one of the cosine double angle formulas, where it's 2 cosine squared of x minus 1. So our x in this case is 15. So because of that, cosine of 2 times our x, which is 15. So then I multiply and get cosine of 30 degrees. Okay? And that's all they want. So they don't want the square root of 3 over 2 there. Okay? Let's do another one. I have 1 minus cosine of 50 over sine of, or sorry, not 50, cosine of 40 over sine of 40. So looking at that one, I would say it's not any of our double angle formulas. It looks like it's one of the tangent formulas because of the 1 minus cosine of an angle, u, over sine of u. So here, I would insert in tangent of blank over 2, and so my u, in this case, is actually 40, so I put in 40. So then I get tangent of 20 degrees. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Letter D, similar. So I look at negative square root of 1 minus cosine of 300 over 2. Since it has a radical, it looks like it's got to be one of the half angle ones for either sine or cosine. And since it says minus cosine of 300, looking at the half angle ones, the one that has a 1 minus a cosine u is going to be sine. So using the sine one, so my u is the 300. So then simplifying that gets us a sine over 150 degrees. Okay. Now let's introduce the product to sum formulas and sum to product formulas. Okay. Here in class we'll prove a couple of these just so you can kind of see where they come from. But sine of u times cosine of v equals 1/2 sine of u plus v plus sine of u minus v. And then all the other ones are kind of similar. They have a little different iterations, like different minus sign. Looks like the last one they kind of switch spots, and it's minus. Okay. And then the next one, sum to product formulas. Sine of x plus sine of y equals, and so then you're going to take 2 times sine of the angles added to each other divided by 2, and then times cosine of the 2 angles subtracted from one another divided by 2, and then all the other ones are kind of similar. Same thing, different alternate, like moving the cosine and sine around, 2 cosines, 2 sines. The last one's a little different, but with the negative sign. But so make sure you copy those down. We'll go back up, and then those. Okay, so put those in with the other formulas that you've got. So now using those, example 4, we want to find the value of the product or sum. So looking at which one we have, so it looks like I have 2 sine of an angle, we can call it x or u, depending on what we're doing, and y. Okay, so since you're doing multiplication, actually we should probably use because it's multiplication we use u and v here. So that's like having the product to sum formula for sine of u times sine of v. Now I know that there's no number here, but in this case they have a 2 next to it. But that just means when we're done, we just actually divide by 2 or take our value time 2. So it's like there's 2 of them. Okay. So when I insert this in, I'll insert in the part that I know of. So for sine of u, sine of v, it's 1/2 times cosine of my u's, and let me make it a little bit more room, of my u minus my v. So u is 52.5 minus 97.5 parentheses, okay, minus cosine of 52, so my u, plus my 97.5, so my v. So now, if you wanted to, because of distributive property, 2 and the 1/2 cancel each other out, so you can just forget about those. Okay. Now you want to simplify the inside, so 52.5 minus 97.5 is actually negative 45 degrees. So it turns out to be a nice number. And then minus cosine 52.5 plus 97.5 gets me 150. Okay, so now that kind of simplified down to something nice and neat. Okay, remember cosine of negative 45 is the same thing as cosine of 45. That's one of your even-odd properties because cosine's even. And so then cosine of 45 is the square root of 2 over 2 minus, and then cosine of 150 is the square root of 3 over 2. So then subtracting those two, you get square root of 2 minus square root of 3 over 2 if you put them together. If you punch those into the calculator, here it doesn't say the exact value, it just says the value of. So the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 divided by 2. So that gets you negative 0.1, let's say 6, if you want to approximate, okay? But you don't have to. Okay, next one, I have cosine of 225 minus cosine of 195. So there, since it's subtraction, you need to look to the sum to the product formulas to see which one that would be. Since there's two cosines, it would be cosine of x minus cosine of y. So this is like your x, this is like your y. Okay, so then that means plugging it in, it's negative 2 times sine of your angles added to each other divided by 2, so 225 plus 195, and then times sine of your two angles subtracted from one another, so 225 minus 195 divided by 2. Okay, so let's simplify here. So negative 2 sine of 225 plus 195 divided by 2 turns out to be 210. And then 225 minus 195 divided by 2 turns out to be 15. Okay, so since we don't know what 15 is on the calculator or on the unit circle, we'll just have to improvise here. So negative 2 times sine of 210 is actually going to be negative 1/2. Okay? And then sine of 115. Let's wait on that because here negative 2 times negative 1/2 cancel each other out, makes it positive, so you're just left with sine of 15. So now I can plug in sine of 15, and then it gets me 0.65, and that would be my value. Okay? Have fun.